Imagine a winter that does not end. A winter that stretches through the spring, through the heat of summer, and into the following autumn, without a single day of warmth. Imagine the sun turning a sickly, pale gray, casting no shadows, while the earth trembles and the stars vanish from the sky. For centuries, historians believed this was merely the fever dream of Norse poets, a mythic apocalypse called Ragnarök. But new evidence from the ice of Greenland and the bogs of Scandinavia suggests that this wasn't just a legend. It was a memory. A memory of a time when the world actually ended. To understand how the Vikings viewed the end of all things, we must first understand how they viewed the world itself. At the center of the Norse universe stood Yggdrasil, the world tree. It was the pillar that held the cosmos together, connecting the realm of the gods, the world of men, and the frozen lands of the giants. In this world, time was not a straight line, but a cycle of growth and decay. And the gods, Odin, Thor, and Freya, were not immortal. They were powerful, yes, but they were also doomed. The most famous account of this doom comes from the Völuspá, an ancient poem where a dead seeress is raised by Odin to tell him the fate of the universe. She speaks of a coming age of axes, swords, and split shields. She describes a terrifying event called the Fimbulwinter, the Great Winter. 3 successive winters with no summer in between, where brothers turn against brothers and all social order collapses into chaos. For a culture so deeply tied to the land, the seasons, and the sea, the idea of a lost summer was the ultimate nightmare. It was the signal that the chains of the world were breaking. The Great Winter was the prologue to the final battle, a cosmic cleansing where the old gods would fall so that a new world could be born. But why would a seafaring, warrior culture develop such a specific obsession with a climate catastrophe? The road to Ragnarök begins not with a sword, but with a betrayal. Baldur, the most beloved of all gods, the god of light and beauty, is murdered through the trickery of the shapeshifter Loki. With the death of light, the moral fabric of the universe begins to unravel. Loki is bound in a cave, but the damage is done. The Fimbulwinter begins. As the Great Winter chokes the life from Midgard, the celestial wolves Skoll and Hati finally catch their prey. They swallow the sun and the moon, plunging the world into a spiritual and physical darkness. The ground groans as the world tree tremors. The giants, led by the fire demon Surtr, march from the south with swords that shine brighter than the sun. At the field of Vigrid, the final accounts are settled. This is not a battle the gods expect to win. It is a battle they choose to fight because honor demands it. Odin faces the wolf Fenrir and is consumed. Thor strikes down the Midgard serpent, only to take 9 steps and fall dead from its venom. Freya, Tyr, and even Heimdall, the watchmen of the gods, perish in the slaughter. Finally, Surtr flings fire across the 9 worlds. The earth sinks into the black, boiling sea, and the stars fall from the firmament. The silence that follows is absolute. In the traditional myth, Ragnarök is a cosmic inevitable. It is the twilight of the gods, a story that emphasizes the Norse belief in fate, or Wyrd. For the Vikings, the world was a harsh place where survival was never guaranteed. Their gods reflected this. They were flawed, they were aging, and they were destined to die. The myth served as a cultural psychological preparation for the end. If even the gods must face their doom with courage, then so must man. But for years, scholars wondered if the specific details of the Fimbulwinter, the 3-year darkness, were just poetic exaggeration or something more. The turning point in our understanding came from the ice. By drilling deep into the glaciers of Greenland and Antarctica, scientists can read the Earth's history like the rings of a tree. In layers corresponding to the year 536 AD, they found something shocking, a massive spike in volcanic sulfate. In 536 AD, the world went dark. A massive volcanic eruption, possibly a series of them, spewed so much ash and sulfur into the stratosphere that it created a dust veil that blocked the sun for 18 months. The Byzantine historian Procopius wrote that the sun gave forth its light without brightness, like the moon, during this whole year. This wasn't just a bad year, it was a global climate collapse. In Scandinavia, the effects were apocalyptic. Tree ring data shows that summer growth almost entirely stopped. Temperatures plummeted. In parts of Norway and Sweden, archaeological evidence shows that up to 50% of villages were abandoned during this period. People weren't just moving, they were dying. The famine was so severe that it changed the very structure of their society. Gold hoards from this era have been found buried in the ground, not as hidden treasure, but as sacrifices. Desperate people were offering their most precious belongings to the gods, begging for the sun to return. When the sun finally did emerge after years of dim cold, the survivors didn't just forget. They turned that trauma into a story. The volcanic winter of 536 AD became the Fimbulwinter. The darkening of the sun became the wolf skull's victory. The shaking of the earth from tectonic shifts became the breaking of Loki's chains. Ragnarök wasn't a fairy tale, it was a 6th century eyewitness report transformed into theology. Why does Ragnarök resonate so strongly today? Beyond the epic battles and the cinematic destruction, it is a story about resilience. The Norse didn't believe the end was the end. In the final verses of the Völuspá, the seeress describes a new earth rising green and fair from the waves. Two humans, Lif and Lifthrazor, emerge from the wood of the world tree to repopulate the world. This legacy is one of survival. It tells us that even when the sky falls and the gods die, life persists. In the modern era, Ragnarök has become a metaphor for our own fears of environmental collapse. It reminds us that our ancestors lived through a literal apocalypse, and through their stories, they taught us that the world can be rebuilt from the ashes. We often look at ancient myths as fantasies meant to explain the unknown. But in the case of Ragnarök, the myth was a way to process a devastating reality. The Vikings lived in the shadow of a history they couldn't fully explain with science, so they explained it with spirit. They took the terrifying memory of a volcanic winter and turned it into a testament of courage, a promise that even the longest winter must eventually yield to the spring. The gods may have fallen at Vigrid, and the sun may have been swallowed by a wolf, but the people who told those stories survived. They carried the memory of the fire and the frost across the seas, ensuring that their forgotten history would live on as long as the wind blows across the north. History is more than just dates, it is the soul of a people caught in the gears of time. If you found this journey into the volcanic heart of the Viking apocalypse fascinating, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to uncover the truth behind the legends. In our next episode, we leave the frozen north for the depths of the Mediterranean to investigate a discovery that defied everything we thought we knew about ancient technology, the Antikythera mechanism. What was a computer doing in the ancient world? Join us next time to find out. Thank you for watching.